What's up everyone, Michael here, and today we're checking out KartRider Drift, a game that actually impressed me, and it's published by Nexon. Now, before you pick up your pitchforks if you're from Nexon America, yeah, Nexon doesn't have a great track record when it comes into games, so I came into this one kind of skeptical, but I haven't played a Nexon game for a really long time. And for those unfamiliar with Nexon's history, Nexon America especially has been known to add in a bunch of pay-to-win mechanics and such, and it's been pretty bad over the years. However, Nexon Korea has had this new initiative over the last couple of years where they've been reintroducing and modifying a lot of their games or rebranding them, and basically removing all of those pay-to-win elements, removing gachas, removing loot boxes or any sort of gambling and stuff, and it's actually been quite nice. For example, like MapleStory has a new server where they removed all the pay-to-win. Still grindy as hell, because that's just what MapleStory is, but it's actually been quite appealing to somebody like me who has a lot of nostalgia for a lot of these old MMOs. And KartRider is a game I actually never got to try because it basically died in North America, and it was quite popular over in Korea. This is basically a sort of reboot, or like a soft reboot of this franchise, and so basically they have another mobile game which still has some weird microtransaction stuff. We won't worry about that one, but this one has been published by Nexon Korea, and it's supposedly removing a lot of the pay-to-win elements that were in the original and sort of trying to redo the series in a new and fresh take. And the developers have promised, quote-unquote, to never introduce pay-to-win mechanics. Now, I'm not holding my breath for that, but at the moment, I'm really impressed with this one. So today we're checking it out. This is sort of like a new format for the Checking It Out series. I haven't really scripted too much of this. I'm kind of retrying to do it over and over again and try to figure out how I'm doing this. So if I'm all over the place, I apologize in advance. I didn't script this, and it's been quite a while since I've recorded one of these videos. But first off, the game is available on both mobile and PC. However, I won't be able to check out the mobile version because, of course, Nexon, incompetent as hell still to this day, even though I like this new initiative Nexon Korea is doing, I can't log into the mobile version of the game. I can log into the Steam on my Nexon account perfectly fine. Here I am on Steam, on PC, logged in. Quite impressive PC port, by the way. Apparently, the mobile version is also quite impressive to play. However, I can't load it up because I can't log in. I tried to log into my Nexon account, it says my password's wrong. Try to use a different type of account method, it just asked me to log back into Nexon. I don't know what's up, but I can't try it on mobile, so we won't be covering the mobile version. We'll just be covering the PC version. Anyways, before we end up getting into the game, this is a PC, so of course we're going to look at the settings real quick. If you don't care about this, feel free to skip ahead. We're not going to be checking out too much. But the major thing to check out here is that the actual game has an auto steering and an auto acceleration mode. We'll talk a little bit more about it and auto controls and stuff. This is mostly a carryover from the mobile version, where the mobile version uses touch controls, which can be quite difficult to actually control. And these are sort of things that are supposed to assist you. And so they're supposed to make it so that you actually stay on the road and such. And there's also a drift assist. As the title would suggest, KartRider Drift, there is a lot of focusing on drifting, which is quite interesting, actually. And the mechanics are quite in-depth and actually kind of complicated, and really gives you your run for your money when you end up going in there. And if you turn on driving assist, for example, if I turn it on here, you can actually enable and disable certain things. Now, for some reason, some of these guardrail things are disabled or unavailable on the PC version, but apparently they work on the mobile version. Again, I can't confirm because I can't play the mobile version for some reason. But you can also turn on things like guidelines, drift zones, and things, stuff to make it a lot easier to play. And obviously, there's other types of things that would actually make the game easier to play on mobile as well, because if you're playing on PC, you can use a controller, you can use keyboard and mouse, or you can use touch controls. I haven't got that working because I don't have a touch screen, but apparently that's the thing that somebody had working. But yeah, so basically, it's got a lot of assist modes. It makes it really, really easy to play if you want them, and they're turned on by default, though. It does ask you if you want the automatic or original controls, but you still have to go in and turn off auto acceleration and stuff like that if you accidentally decided to turn on the automatic mode, just as a heads up. General settings, you do have a language select between quite a few different languages. I don't think there's any voice acting in this game. There is also a match latency option, which if you're going to be more competitive on this side, you might want to change it to optimal, but you might not find very many people because it basically balances you based on where your latency is, which is really important for a game that's trying to be competitive. We'll get into more of the competitive aspects after I was talking about auto driving and stuff like that. This game has a very interesting dynamic where it's also too easy while also being too difficult in some respects. We'll talk about that later. And basic stuff. You can also turn on vibration for controllers, which is quite nice. I am playing this with a gamepad, by the way, which has some problems. We'll talk about that. And then you get some graphics options. I was actually impressed by this. You have full screen, windowed, and borderless. You can also select which display device you want to use, which is quite nice. So I was able to select which monitor I wanted. Not always useful for everyone, but I like seeing it. Gamma control, contrast, brightness, vertical sync, FPS limit, which I have it capped to 60 for recording, but you can also set it all the way to 360 or even unlimited. So you can end up using an external capper as well if you wanted to do that. And then you also have the additional graphical effects and stuff. It also supports NVIDIA Reflex, which I was actually surprised about. Again, I'm very impressed by this. It runs an Unreal Engine, and so it's not surprising that all these things exist, but it is surprising that the developer actually took the time to make a proper PC version that actually allows you to adjust these. And it actually scales very, very well, even though the game already turned all the way to the maximum, as you can see, actually runs, it basically runs lighter than a cup of flour. It is incredibly smooth and runs really, really well. And then also volume controls I'm also really impressed by. Like, look at this. So you not only have a master control and background music volume, you also have sound effect volume, and you can individually change which ones you want to change, which is really cool. I like this. Why don't more games do this? This should be like the standard for sound effects and stuff. That is great. I absolutely love it. You can also select which output and input device you want, and you can turn on or off voice chat. Obviously, I have it off. For some reason, it defaults to on, so you'll want to turn this off when you end up getting into the game. And then also has text-to-speech, which I've never tried. I should try it at some point, but I have voice chat off, so it doesn't even matter. And then you have control selection. Now, you can't double bind, unfortunately, but you can rebind all of the controls. It's a super simple game to play, and so all the controls, pretty basic. Now, I would like to be able to double bind for a specific reason. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but yeah. Basically, you also have this option, which is weird. I don't know why this is here when you also have accelerate right here. So it has the RT and then B as your accelerate, but you can also change it and rebind it here. So I don't know why this is here. Confuses me. Not sure why. And then there's manage account stuff, which I'm not going to show. Yeah, but there you go. You also have customization options, but I feel like we should probably just jump into a race. So if you're skipping the settings options, there we go. We should probably be here. All right, so I'm just going to go into a time attack, and I'm going to show off the most basic course and show you why I was kind of meh when I first started playing this game, because the introduction to this game is incredibly basic, and it's kind of meh. Now, I'm not going to be trying to beat my score here, so don't criticize me. But basically, we hit power once it ends up going to go, or we hit the gas when we hit to go. We hit accelerate when we get to go. But basically, this is a very basic racing game, as in you got go, you got stop, and that is also your reverse. Braking takes forever, so you'll normally want to drift to a stop. So if you wanted to stop, you would drift down to a stop and then rewind. And drifting is where this game gets really complicated, because while the driving itself is just left and right, and even on touch controls, it's just left and right, and apparently it works pretty well on keyboard and mouse as well, although I could never get used to it. The drifting is where the main kind of mechanics come into play, and there's actually a very long tutorial when it comes down to actually using the drift. And then there's also items and stuff like that. Now, in the speed modes, you're only going to build up this meter down at the bottom of the screen and get boosts, which are going to be our basic item that we can use here by just like pressing A by default. But the drifting, let's get into that, because drifting is where it gets insane. So if we stop here, we can drift, and the longer you hold it, the tighter your turn. You can even turn completely around in a 180 degree. So even if you run into a wall, you do have a reset button, so you can reset yourself. Well, let's say I run into a wall like this, I can actually just quickly, oh, I screwed it up. I can quickly rewind and actually get myself back into the track and in the race faster than a reset. And you can even use that to screw up your opponents, which is nice for squad play. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get into the actual modes. But the drifting is actually interesting because you actually do have that kind of tight control with how much you want to drift, but it's also used to build up your meter down at the bottom. And so as I drift, you'll notice that it actually boosts up how much it actually gives me. And you can also get a small boost after your drift ends by repressing the accelerate button. Now on mobile, this shows up as a separate button. I have a friend who's played the mobile version, which is how I know that. But I will say one of my main complaints about the game so far is that that drift sort of meter is sort of, I don't know how to put it exactly. It's kind of confusing, as in it's not exactly clear on when you can press accelerate to get a small boost from the drift. So it seems kind of inconsistent at times. So for example, I'll drift and then press it and it won't work, but then other times I will drift and then it won't work. Also, my character's crying because I didn't beat my high score. I'm sorry, I tried my I didn't try. But yeah, so that's basically the mechanics of the game, and it gets a little bit more complicated than that. The game actually has a license mode, which is basically a tutorial, and so basically as you play through, it does have a mandatory tutorial when you start the game, by the way. It is super boring, and it does force you to play it, which is super, super unfortunate. But this is where the problem comes into play. So you saw that track that we just played. It was super basic. It was basically just a square. But if you go through these challenges teach you how to play. And so it'll be like, oh, reach the finish line, hit as many dummies, how to use items, how to use the drift, or how to use the drift better, how to, race against other players and stuff. And you even get little rewards that you can see down at the bottom for doing these different races. But the thing is, you have to unlock these, and it takes forever, because as you're playing through these, or let me rephrase this, you have to do these to unlock more tracks. Now, if we go to the track selection down in the time attack area here, you can see that the actual tracks that you start with are this top row here that don't have any of the license badges up in the top left. And so you get these tracks, and as you can see on the top right there, they're all incredibly basic. So if you load this game up and don't do any of the licenses, you're going to be stuck to these very incredibly basic courses, and it's mostly going to be putting you up against bots, which are not particularly impressive. And I do believe they put you in bots in other matches too. We'll talk about that when we talk about the modes. But yeah, it's very basic. But as you play, you get more and more advanced tracks as you finish those licenses. For example, you finish the first license to get a B2 license, you can see that they start getting much more advanced, much more quickly. And you do end up unlocking different difficulties as you go. Up in the top left, you'll see underneath the name of this track, it does have like a star rating of sorts. And so for example, this track is supposed to be really difficult because it's a 5-star, whereas this track is supposed to be like a 2-star. And so as you unlock each license, you get harder and harder tracks as you go along. And I assume as they add more and more, the licenses will get more and more difficult. And you even get these sprint type tracks later on that are incredibly difficult. One of them I won't even play because it's kind of embarrassing how bad I am at it. But yeah, so we'll just go ahead and actually go into a race, I think. So we're going to go ahead and go into an item mode race because I think those are probably the more interesting ones. So when you end up going into the actual races, you have basically 3 modes. You can also do a custom race with your friends, which only allows you to select between item and speed mode. But effectively, you have time attack, which I was just doing, which is basically just races around the track as fast as you can, try to beat your friend's high score. If you go in here and you select a track, you can see the high scores and stuff like that. They have had a problem with cheaters recently, and so basically some of the scoreboards are kind of illegitimate, but they've been mostly trying to fix that. They actually released a blog post recently talking about some new anti-cheat measures and stuff like that, and it seems like they fixed most of them. Because, like, for example, this track had somebody who completed it in 2 seconds, which is literally impossible. There's no way you could do that. But yeah, you can also change it by platform and region, although it does seem like most people on PC are the ones that are getting the highest scores on some of these tracks, which is interesting. Anyways, let's actually go into an item race, because item race is one that I actually like. Now, there's 3 different modes. You have solo item, dual, and then squad item. And you can invite your friends as well, though one of the complaints I have is that if you play with friends, the only way you can go against yourself or against your friends is to actually create a custom match, which means you can't have like matchmaking and stuff like that. You still get rewards for it, but not that big of a deal. We'll talk about customization after this race. And we found one right away. If you end up toggling all of them, you end up finding a race pretty damn quickly. There's also settings that you can check, and so you can actually turn on and off certain difficulty settings. I forgot to cover that before we went into the loading screens. So yeah, we're just gonna go into a race. Now I have the microphone turned off, but you can hear people talking and stuff like that. I think most people have the mic turned off if they find out the settings on, but it is very funny when people start this game because it's on by default. Because for some reason the developer thought it was really important for everyone to have voice chat. And so you'll hear a lot of new players cursing at the, oh, I'm gonna hit, dang. You'll see a lot of people kind of cursing early on in the game because they're like, how the hell does this drift system work? Because it's actually quite complicated. Yeah, so the item mode is actually pretty fun. You end up going through each different race. There's only certain tracks that can actually be eligible for the item race, while you can do speed mode on all the tracks, it seems. Oops, I messed that up. You can actually only do certain ones on the item race, which I think is a huge negative to the game. I would rather them modify all of the tracks so that you can play all of them on the item mode, because I think, casually speaking, the item mode is where a lot of the fun is. And so right now we're playing a duo mode, and so basically I have a teammate. So the other person on the left side, who's actually in first, oh, now he's in second. Sorry, bro. basically you're actually able to have teammates, and your teammates actually get a placement score. And so you can actually help your teammates get a higher score to get yourselves higher on the leaderboard. So right now, me and my teammate are trying our best to beat all of the other duo teams. And so, for example, if I wanted to use like a missile, I wouldn't want to use it on my teammate. I would want to use it on somebody who's giving my teammate a trouble if I could. Or if I have like a protection item, I can use it on my ally. For example, there's the Guardian Shield, which you can use on all of your teammates. And there is a squad mode as well, up to 4 players. And so it can be either free-for-all, where it's just 1 player against everyone, all 8 players, or it's duo, so there's 4 teams of 2, or there is the squad mode, which is just 2 squads of 4. Now, I think my most favorite modes is probably the solo mode, while the duo mode is probably a close second if you have a friend to play, but I really don't like the squad mode, because the squad mode is kind of a little bit too basic. There's like a lot of basically landslide modes, to where basically if you have one person in the squad that's ahead of everyone, it can get really bad really, really fast. So yeah, there we go. And all the tracks are actually pretty quick. That was a 2-star track, if I remember correctly. So not super complex, but it is complex enough to be complicated. I got destroyed by items. I'm trying to talk as well, so sorry, teammate. Normally I do pretty well on the item races. I generally know how to use the items well, but I wasn't really paying that much attention because video. But yeah, so at the end of each match, you actually do get the placements and stuff like that, and you also get a coin reward. Coin rewards are what you can spend in the shop. Here's the cash shop section of the video, so if you're curious on where the monetization is, here it is. So, the game seems to be focused on these sort of temporary purchase item things. And so basically you go into here and you're able to look at these items. It's like, oh, this package is on sale, it's $5. So yeah, so if we look at the coin conversion or whatever. So I'm in USD on the American server, and so basically it's 100 coins per dollar, which is how you can convert that. I don't know what prices are in other regions and whatnot. I'm sure it changes. But yeah, so basically individual items and stuff like that. So you can purchase either bundles that are limited time, I think, although they don't have timers on here. It just said on the release page that it's until TBA. So I don't really know when they're going to add them. But there are also items that you can unlock with the coins. So for example, if I wanted to get the chef costume for Moss, then I can end up unlocking that with the coins and stuff. And you earn the coins through reward, like daily rewards, through events, and through playing the game. For example, that last race, which we didn't win, I got 50 coins. But if you win, you get 100 coins, that sort of deal. And so it's kind of a grindy system. You can only earn 4,000, I think, per week. I think it's per day or per week. We can actually go and look at it in a second. But yeah, so there's emotes and such, and then there's outfits, there's decals that you can put on your vehicle, which we'll talk about in a second. And then, of course, there's also a season pass, because every game needs a season pass. Now, I do have a very critical issue with this season pass, which this is preseason, so this is supposed to be a shorter season pass. I'm not really sure what the actual season pass is going to be. So far, this one's pretty basic and pretty easy to get through, but it has, you know, a normal free track and a paid track. This is pretty standard in a lot of these types of games, and I personally am not a fan of them, honestly. I do not like the idea of kind of having to pay to play the game more, to do objectives, to unlock stuff. I would rather just unlock the cosmetics, or have this as a system the game ends up promoting. If the Battle Pass didn't cost money to progress through, I probably wouldn't have an issue if it was all just free, but it does do paid, and that is kind of manipulative in the practice it is. But that's neither here nor there. This is how the system is, and you can either like it or dislike it. Now, my major issue with it in terms of battle passes is that, for one, you only get daily challenges as a free player, and this allows you to get 10 points or whatever, which is 2 slots in the battle pass. Quick correction, before editing this, I actually came to a realization, or rather found some new information that I hadn't really realized before. The amount of trophy icon thingies that you need to actually unlock each block increases the farther you get into the battle pass. This is another manipulative thing I don't like, but I didn't realize that it had increased as you went along, and so basically you can't unlock 2 blocks per day. It's much harder than that. And I don't actually know the extent of that, because obviously I haven't finished the pass. I haven't gotten that far. And so, again, just another thing I don't like. Anyways, back to the normal video. Or the racing pass, as they call it. And so basically, tomorrow I could unlock this pass, or this box, and this box. And that's it. However, if you pay for it... Oops, wrong button. Still learning the controls, can't you tell? You get these weekly challenges, and these allow you to progress through it much, much more quickly. So if you pay through it or pay for it early, it promotes you to buy it, which means that you're promoted to play it weekly to get all the rewards. And I find this kind of manipulative. I don't like this. Like, I would much rather it be everyone gets the same challenges and then you can purchase the advanced one if you want to. I understand the financial incentive to actually purchase it or have players purchase it early, because that means they're going to be more incentivized to play the game, which is how these systems work. It's manipulating players into, oh, I don't want to waste my purchase on the battle pass by not playing, so it promotes people to play, and by making it so there's more challenges for paying players, it means that they're more incentivized to buy them. So yes, this is definitely Nexon, and it is definitely going to be manipulative. So the fact that they're not doing pay to win is nice, however, they are still going to try and manipulate you, which also carries into the limited time shop items, which while currently they say that they're available for however long, they just say TBA, as in like, oh, maybe it's going to be available forever. They could end up in the future adding in items that are only limited time for like a week or two, or maybe a couple of days, or maybe making it so you have to log in a certain amount of times or within a certain period of time, which is what they already did. Because now if we go into customization, which is actually kind of fun, you have different characters and you have different carts. Now, balance changes. Just talking about stuff that's manipulative. They are not doing pay to win so far. There are two mechanics that I want to talk about that they've already announced that they're adding into the game. Now, currently, all of the carts have the same exact stats. So no matter what cart I pick, they will all perform exactly the same. However, in previous versions of the game in beta, they did have a stat system to where you could reconfigure the cars for different stats. Now, this could be implemented in the future. They say in Season 1 they're most likely going to add that feature back. However, it is not going to be paid features. It's going to be stuff that you enable on your own. And so it's going to be like unlocks or in-game advantage type stuff that you end up eventually either unlocking as you progress through the game and the level system, or systems that are just unlocked from the get-go, so you can customize your carts however you play. But talking about the limited time login things, for example, I got this bunny cart by logging in or whatever, and so basically if you wanted this cart, by the time this video comes out, it might be already too late, I'm not sure, but for the Lunar New Year, they have released this cart, so if you logged in, you get this cart. And personally, I'm not super bothered by limited time cosmetic stuff, but it's not my favorite thing. Now, as you see, this is the base cart of the version of the cart that I was having. However, you can actually go in and customize them as well. So you can change up the wheels, you can change up the booster color, which you have to unlock all this stuff, by the way. So again, to customize all this stuff, you do have to unlock it, but it doesn't cost money to change it all or anything. And then you can also change the license plate, which is quite nice. It's only somewhat visible in the actual races, but it is nice being able to customize your cart. And you can actually customize the decals. So for example, we can create a decal, or we can add ones that are already on there. So for example, I have my customized cart to where I just added flames to it, so my car is faster, because flames, dude. But you can also just end up making a new wrap. You can change the color of it. You also have a secondary color on each of the cars. There are certain promotion cars that you can't change. For example, the Steam Limited cart, you can't do that, but they do have pre-made things that you could add. So for example, if I wanted to add these flames to the side of the car, I can. I'm not going to cover this too much, but yeah, that's the basic gist. And they actually look pretty cool. Like, they're actually pretty good. And the custom decal, one thing I do have a problem with in my own sort of thing is to create new decal. So instead of actually seeing it on the car when you're customizing it, you just see it as this little box, and then you edit it however you want. And you actually have a ton of options and stuff. You can even add these other decals into the option or whatever, but you can actually create some pretty complicated stuff. And a lot of people have already been going through and creating a lot of them. So for example, I created that flame by just making 2 flames or whatever. So if I go in here, how do I actually select this? Oh, edit. There we go. Oh, ungroup. I have to ungroup it. Oh my god. No, I don't want to delete. I don't know. I have not messed with this enough, and I don't want to ruin my flame. I'm sorry. But yes, it was pretty simple. I just basically took 2 flame decals, grouped them together, and sized them up how I wanted them. I haven't messed with it super a whole lot. Super a whole lot? Now I'm starting to sound like a kid. All right. Anyways, yeah, so that's the cart customization, and you can mix any cart and any character. So for example, with this character, I can select any of these or anything. And then here's the Steam exclusive one that only appears if you play on Steam. You can't customize it though, which is weird, but you can customize all the rest of them. So certain carts, you can't customize. If you play through the Nexon launcher, you get the Nexon cart, and you can't customize that one either. Characters. This is where I actually think his adorableness comes into play. So I like this character the best, Ori, but there are several characters according, I need to slow down. Also, the characters from the original game are here. So, for example, you got Deo from the original KartRider, Bazi, Brody, and Diz. But you also have additional characters that I don't remember from the original, and all of them have different personalities and different animations and such. One thing that is unfortunate is you do have to unlock a lot of their animations. So, for example, for Ari, I only have the 2 animations that you start with, which is the winning animation, victory, and then the sad animation. But yeah, so there's some interesting characters and a good dynamic. There's certain characters that are really serious, certain characters are really goofy, certain ones are very fun. But I think that they have a good rounded amount of characters to where anybody can really find a character that they like, and they all have different backstories. And you can also get different outfits for them as well. So for example, Diz has a school outfit or a student outfit that you can unlock during the event thing or whatever. And again, some of these are going to be limited time. Some of these are from the challenges as well. So from the licenses modes. So as you do the licenses, the bigger events you get, the more you get. Oh, that animation's cute. I want that one. But here's the only 2 that you have. So you start off with the victory and the sad animation for every character, but you have to unlock more of them through the shop, through challenges, etc., etc. So yeah. That's it. And then you also have like a cart version of each one as well, so you can do them in the cart as well. And there's also emojis, which you get a little emoji wheel when you're actually sitting here, and you can customize what they are and stuff like that as well. So that's the customization. It's actually fairly in-depth. I could just go to the garage and show off. Oof. Focus. Yeah, here's the emojis and stuff like that. You only start off with 2 sets. Now, one thing that's confusing is that the game said I unlocked more emojis, but they didn't show up in this list. And I'm confused as to why. I think it's a bug. I'm not sure, because during the challenges, you unlock emojis. It even shows it, or showed it in the trial thing when I was looking at the licenses before. Yeah. But yeah, there we go. That's kind of the game, honestly. If we go into a speed mode to toggle all this. Oh yeah, the settings and stuff like that. You could turn on a practice mode, which allows you to go against AI and stuff like that if you don't want to play against other players or you don't want to go into matching. Another place to where AI goes into play, if we go into the custom modes, oh yeah, I should probably just show this off real quick too. You can set the track difficulty, so you have 1, 2, and 3+. I assume as they add more tracks to the game, they'll probably make it so you can just select higher difficulties. This will limit the players that you'll be matched up with. If you have the 1-star selected though, you'll basically only get new players because you'll just be getting stuck constantly on the 1-star. And so that's why I have 2 and 3-star plus enabled, because that enables, or that means that I'm going to be playing with the more advanced players, and I'm going to be playing with the more difficult tracks. I don't really like the basic 1-star tracks that you start off with, which means that when you start this game, you're most likely going to want to do a couple of these basic races to get a handle on the game, and then you're going to want to run into the licenses, which is where you do small little challenges. We'll look at one of those as we're doing our closing comments, but let's just do ahead and go into a speed race and talk about some of the final thoughts on this one, because I think it's actually pretty nice. It's pretty fun. Personally, I have very little confidence in Nexon in not adding in pay-to-win elements. I think that there is a big concern, especially when Nexon America, though this game is being completely handled by Nexon Korea, I do think that the manipulative practices of free-to-play games is somewhat concerning, and they've already sort of sowed some of their colors. Oh, here's a squad race, by the way. Apparently, we're not doing any single or solo races in this video. I apologize. But this mode actually has a separate bar, the blue bar, which I think is like a build team up. But basically, if you end up filling up that blue bar, it will actually turn your boost into a blue boost, which actually lasts a lot longer. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, there's another mechanic I forgot to mention to where you get draft. So if you're behind other racers for a limited time, you get a small boost to try to overtake them and such. But yeah, here's the blue boost. It lasts a lot longer and whatnot. And then in these speed races, you're wanting to drift and build up a lot of boost and try to win the race on there. Anyways, back onto what I was saying for some like final comments and stuff like that. I think that overall, I'm kind of concerned on where the game will go monetarily, especially for the first season. This is just a checking out. This isn't meant to be like a super in-depth review, even though we're talking about all the mechanics. I did end up going way over time. My original time estimate was going to be 15 minutes for this video, but very clearly I need to start scripting for if I want shorter videos, because that's not going to happen with my methods. So this ended up being more of like a full review, but I do want to kind of point out that this is the pre-season version, and not all the mechanics are introduced into the game yet, as admitted by the developers. There are 2 key mechanics that they're going to be introducing. For one, there is the multiplayer aspects, and so they're going to be adding in more competitive multiplayer type modes, such as a ranked mode and other types of clan type features, which they haven't announced that's being added in season 1. I think the ranked mode will probably be added in season 1. Also, we came in 4th, but our rankings is going to be dependent on where all our teammates ended up. So we have 1 teammate or 3 teammates that ended up in the top 4. So we ended up winning because we got more points, even though the other team ended up having 1 player get into the first slot. That's a lot of words. Also, everyone loves that bunny car. Somebody did color it pink. That's adorable. But since we won, we got 100. And we do gain XP and level up, although all that happens when we level up, it seems, is we get coins. I imagine they'll do more with it later. But the other feature is the car customization thing. And we're going to go into a license real quick as we're closing this out. We'll just do one of the basic ones so I look cool. Hairpin turns, we'll just do that. And so basically these give you a small overview of like what they want you to do. And then when you play it, you actually get a star rating based on how well you do. And also for a lot of them, it shows up like actually what you're supposed to do in a video. So it actually acts as a really good tutorial. Yay. But yeah, so the other one is the kart customization, which is where I'm very concerned. And so I'm just going to drift, because why not? Yeah, drifting, because drifting's fun. Drifting is actually really fun in this game, if you get the hang of it. But yeah, as I was saying, the kart like customization thing kind of concerns me, because they could end up doing it, say, like with parts or something that you end up getting through like the shop, or maybe customize, or maybe it's going to be progression locked, and that means that the competitive advantage of a player that's been playing for a while is going to be a lot higher. Now, that's obviously already the case when it comes down to skill, because a player who's been playing the game for much longer is obviously going to be much better at the game, and so that's not really where my concern lies. It really depends on how they end up implementing the system, if they do at all. Now, again, this is just a system that's not even in the game, so I can't properly say whether I would like it, which is why this is, you know, not going to be a proper review or anything like that. If I was going to be doing a proper review, I would actually wait for that Season 1 content. But when it comes down to, you know, prospects of the future with these types of games, I actually really, really enjoy this game. And so I'm actually hoping that they don't add in pay-to-win elements, just because I think it would kind of destroy something that's actually quite fun. I think this game strikes an excellent balance between being, hey, 3 stars, yeah. Sorry. It strikes a good balance between, yay, it upgraded apparently. I don't know why I did that, but I just unlocked Studious Deo. Did that actually unlock though? That's where I'm confused, because it'll go into the thing here. I unlocked that emote. Is that an emote? It can be found in my garage. Find emblems and profile and currency. Okay. So that's married while she's seated. It's affectionate. Okay. We're going to check if I actually got those or not. But I got Studious Deo. But yeah, so I actually think this game struck a really good balance between being casual and advanced. I think the drifting and boosting mechanics actually adds a lot, while the item mode especially, it did unlock. Okay. So if I switch to, what was the character? So for example, I know I've unlocked stuff as her, but if I go to emote, I only have these 2 emotes. If I go to the emoji, does it unlock there? No, because I only have these ones. I feel like I'm missing something here. I don't know if I'm missing something or if it's bugged. Maybe if I select him, it has emotes? Okay, well, I unlocked his emotes. Do I have to 3-star it to unlock the emotes? Am I just dumb? Hold on. Oops. Character here. I don't know why, but I struggle with these. No, I have the emotes now. I am very confused. Okay, so the other character was, maybe I just have to 3-star them to unlock him? I am legit learning right now. Oh, those are different. That one's seated, but I can't do that while standing. Also, all the characters do have different emotes, by the way. They're not just the same. So yeah, they are different. Okay, so apparently I did unlock these. Maybe I just unlocked seated ones and never looked. Either way, I'm confused. Whatever. But yeah, so I think that one of my major complaints with this game so far aside from concerns with monetization and concerns of pay to win and stuff like that, or manipulative practices, which is just a concern with most free-to-play things. I think in terms of free-to-play stuff and monetization, this game is doing it in an okay and probably somewhat ethical manner. I think the limited time aspect is what really concerns me when it comes down to these things. Implementing FOMO, especially in a game that's kids-friendly, is very concerning. But in terms of actual gameplay and systems, I think that this game actually nailed it, because it's simple enough that anybody can jump in and start playing the game. They might bump into a few walls and stuff like that, but winning or losing, the game is just fun to play no matter what you're doing. And when it comes down to the actual tracks, it's unfortunate that you have to do the licensing stuff to actually unlock them. I hope that in the future, either they add more difficult tracks to the beginner's set, or they make it more obvious that you're able to go do the licenses to unlock more. Be more upfront about it. Tell the player, like, hey, by the way, you've done 4 races on these beginner tracks, but if you do these licenses, you'll get more tracks. That's where my main complaint comes into the game, because when I first played this game, I thought it was just incredibly basic and really, really simple until I learned about licenses, which the game did not tell me about the license system. And another complaint I have with the license system is it takes a really long time to do them. Once you do them, you never have to do them again, and I understand that they want players to understand the mechanics, but a lot of the mechanics that they end up showing off is like, okay, we're going to teach you how to drift around a corner. Okay, now do it faster. Now do it while collecting coins, and do it faster while collecting coins. And that's the sort of thing that they end up doing with that tutorial. I think that they should probably limit the amount of requirements to actually unlock the tracks. Maybe make it so the licenses require a certain amount of stars, and maybe you can get all those stars by, you know, only doing a couple of the challenges, or make it so that you can skip them, or something along those lines. Like, it's very annoying to have to do them because it took us quite a while. And I did see the sort of, oh, I do this every time I play this track, and I'm gonna get hit with a missile. Oh, and okay. Thanks, game. That was like a Mario Kart Center thing. Oh, and he stole my item. Ah! I am being hated on this so hard. But yeah, so I'm still having a lot of fun. I do enjoy this game quite a bit. Oh, and they blocked it. No. I never talked about what the items do. You have different items such as missiles. You have an item that ends up grabbing them and putting them in a bubble. You have a quick escape by pressing a button. When you do escape a bubble as well, you can actually do a small boost. I haven't been doing it because I'm still not used to it. And then you got boost, obviously. You got bananas you can leave back. And they wear glasses because they're nerds. I don't know why I'm being mean. But yeah, so the items are actually pretty interesting and involved and stuff like that. And it just makes the game overall pretty enjoyable. So I think if you're going to try to play this game casually, especially with some younger friends, or just even your older friends and stuff like that, I think it's available for all ages. You can actually enjoy it quite a bit. And since it's free to play, you don't really have any limits, and it runs on pretty much anything. I know one of our friends who doesn't really know a whole lot about computers was having some stuttering issues, as in like the game would freeze up every couple of seconds, and we didn't really figure it out, though I think she said she solved it afterwards, as in like it stopped doing it after a while. I think that was more of a PC issue though, so maybe players on lower end machines might have issues in some cases, but it might have been just because it was installed on a hard drive, though I had this game installed on a hard drive and it loaded perfectly fine. The game is very scalable. It defaults to many of the medium settings, at least it did on my machine. I don't know if it'll scale based on your thing, but the port seems pretty good as well. Like, I am just overall very impressed with this game. Like, I was not expecting to enjoy this and play it for more than maybe an hour. I thought I would check it out, just see what it was, because I hadn't played an Nexon game in a while. It looked really cute. It's a kart racer. There's the protect all thing I was talking about earlier, by the way. So yeah, just a quick apology, by the way, at the end of the video if you're still watching. Sorry I was all over the place. I probably could have made this a 20-minute video if it would have been more concise with my thoughts. Also, there's shortcuts and stuff. Like, this is a shortcut. Yay! Difficulty! And the more advanced tracks, you end up finding shortcuts and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of things to cover in this fairly basic game, honestly. Also, one of the things, if you end up getting to the end of the race, it's only got 10 seconds, and you have to get to the end, and then the race ends. Forgot to mention that earlier. So yeah, apologies for this video being all over the place. This is the first video I've actually sat down and recorded in this style for quite some time. I've done a couple of scripted things in the meanwhile to try and do a couple of videos, and those will probably release over time, though I'm probably going to scrap most of those because they're not very good. But yeah, thank you for joining me in this adventure. KartRider Drift, a game that for some reason I can never remember the name of. Every single time I have to pause for a couple of seconds to try to remember, because for some reason KartRider doesn't make sense to me. But overall, I'm actually impressed by this game, and I hope that it has a beautiful future, because if they end up carrying out their promise and not adding pay to win and stuff, it'll actually be a fun and actually surprisingly competitive game. I think in Korea, it's going to end up popping off just because KartRider was actually a fairly decently sized competitive game over there back in the day. I think this re-release is actually quite successful. It's beautiful graphically. It's got a very cute aesthetic. It sounds good. The soundtrack's pretty good. It can be forgettable and kind of annoying if you play the game too much. I'm probably going to turn it off after this video because I've just heard it for too long. But yeah, overall, I actually recommend checking this one out. I don't say that very often. Like, I don't normally give a hardcore recommendation, but if you like these types of casual kart racers, or you want a game with surprisingly in-depth drift mechanics that actually can be quite competitive, give this game a shot. Like, actually legitimately give it a shot. Make sure to do those licenses though, because if you just try the beginner tracks, you're probably not going to be impressed. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Michael doing a video after way too long. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you can check out my gaming Discord called The Broken Chat Box, link in the description below, and you can also check out my other videos for more content like this one. For some reason, right when I got to the intro, I did my arm swing thing that I do that you can't see. You've probably seen it on stream if you watch any of my old videos, but my chair deflated, so now I'm like really close to the floor. This is just a stupid way to end the video. Anyways, again, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time. Hopefully the audio stayed synced, because if that screwed up, I would be slightly upset, even though that video was all over the place. I feel like that was like a full review. I don't feel like that was a checking out, but that's all right. It was all over the place and horrible. Okay, ending video.